Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. Just saw Twisters 2024. I don't know if this film had any relationship to a movie called Twister, which is going way, way back to maybe 1995 or 96, I think. And I can't even remember if I ever saw that movie from way back when, Twister. I don't think I have, to tell you the truth. So I don't know if this one is a sequel or a remake or whatever. It didn't seem to be. I did see this early access screening on an IMAX screen. It was fun. I will get into the movie and the ifs and the whats and the nuances in a minute, but they did have this pre-movie Q&A with the cast, which was apparently live. A self-related or a self-identifying Latina lady, very attractive, hosted this thing. And she had like the three main stars of the movie and the director. So it's Glen Powell, who's been coming on strong. I mean, the first time I can remember seeing this guy was Top Gun Maverick. If you saw Top Gun Maverick, I saw that movie in the theater, believe it or not, 5 times. That's the record for any movie I've seen in the theater. Or a movie theater. I saw Maverick. I really guess you could say I like that movie, and he has a big part in that one. And then he did a Sydney Sweeney thing maybe 7 or 8 months ago. It came out, or maybe 9 months ago, where he played the love interest to Sydney Sweeney. It does seem like Glenn is getting all these, romantic interests in these movies with these beautiful females. Good for him. What else? But yeah, he did produce this Blue Angels movie that I saw maybe 4 or 5 months ago. So this guy's pretty active now. It just seems like he kind of came out of nowhere, because I don't remember seeing him before Top Gun Maverick, but maybe he was in some TV show that I don't watch or some Netflix series that I don't watch. A lot of stuff on TV that I don't watch. So I miss out on these people becoming famous, before our very eyes. I mostly go to the theater to watch films, feature films. Let's see who else. The guy, there's another guy. There's like the love triangle is it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff in this movie going on at once. The movie is fairly long. I think it was 2 hours and 14 minutes. The guy, I think the characters, our buddy there, Glen Powell, plays Tyler. The other guy is Ravi, I think, or Ari. That's the secondary guy. And then the main focus, really, the central character, is a female character, Kate. Kate, see, this is the thing, and I guess I'll get into the nuances, but before I get into the story, let me just say, if you think you're going to go see this movie, I highly, highly, highly suggest this is the movie to see on IMAX. This is the movie, if you don't have IMAX in your town, if you have something called Big D, which one theater somewhat near me has, I haven't gone in like a year, but Big D through AMC, that one's in Yulee, Florida, kind of obscure, but they have this thing called the Big D Theater, it's pretty damn good. It's like Dolby, but even bigger. It's pretty impressive. Well, whatever you have, if you have Regal, like the XD, there's a Regal Theater here. That's their best auditorium, their best screen. And then Cinemark actually always has really top of the line theaters, but I think even in the Cinemark world of theaters, they have like a special theater. They do have, this one might be fun for this, the rocking seats. I don't know if you've tried that. I've done it a few times. I actually don't think I like it. I don't think I like the roller coaster seats. There's these movie theaters now that have like installed, basically a roller coaster seat of sorts. Like, it's still a nice comfy chair, but your seat like jerks around and shakes around in synchronicity with the film. That's a thing now, okay? And so I have done that a few times. I tend to find out that I don't enjoy it as much as I think I would. Like, it's a good in theory for me, but in practice, I don't enjoy it. Okay, moving forth. So yeah, see this one. This is the movie. If you end up seeing this on just the matinee 2:30 screening a month from now, it's going to suck. Like, if you don't see this movie within the first maybe two 2 weeks, some other big movie is going to come along and bump this one from the IMAX screen and the Dolby Digital. This is how fast the turnover is, folks. You know, it's not the days where you had like one big blockbuster movie a summer. Like, you know, this is the summer of Rambo, or this is the summer of Back to the Future. This is not those days. There's so much competition. There's so many movies coming out, production studios, and they're fighting for these big screens. So I'm telling you, if you want to see this one, Twisters, you got to go soon. And not because of the crowds, but because you don't want to see this one on a secondary screen. And for me, just with this particular IMAX theater, there's an IMAX screen, there's a Dolby Digital. That's like top level. That's like the top level. And I'm starting to favor the IMAX screen over the Dolby Digital. It used to be reverse. The difference is Dolby Digital auditorium has the reclining seats, and the IMAX are still comfortable, but they do not recline at all, and you have no leg support. So I would say, you know, pick as you would, but definitely, if I haven't stressed it enough, I think you get the point. See it on the best screen you can. Otherwise, you're going to be robbing yourself. I don't know if the story is strong enough. If you saw this on a third level screen, or God forbid you watch it at home. Oh, I'll save it for home. I'll watch it at home. I'll stream it. It's not going to do a goddamn thing. You can think that you have some nice home projection system or some nice big TV, and it'll be fine. But it's not going to be the same thing as a fucking IMAX screen, assholes. I mean, nobody has a fucking IMAX theater in their house, okay? So don't give yourself that much credit. Your home system, I'm sure, is wonderful to watch UFC and a football game, but if you're talking about this multi-million-dollar movie thing, you got to go to the theater. I got into some argument on fucking whatever, Threads. I got into some bickering contest with some person. I mentioned, like, somebody was complaining, like one person complained, the opening complaint about how much money the movie ticket cost. I jumped in, trying to be a good Samaritan, trying to help the film industry as I always do, telling them about the subscription plans, and some asshole fuck, you know, said, oh, this guy subscribes to, he goes to the movies monthly, LOL. Well, go fuck yourself. And I said, well, I enjoy going to the movies, and this saves a lot of money. And this fucker's response was, well, why go to the movies at all when you can just watch TikTok? And he wasn't joking. There was no LOL or no sarcastic emoji. This fuck, whoever this asshole is, sits there and watches TikTok all day. And I responded, well, you know, I've heard that TikTok has a lot of spyware in it, and I don't really want to risk that to watch random strangers dancing, you know. And the fuck responded, oh, it's not just random strangers dancing. And I'm sure, oh, well, okay, asshole. I'm sure TikTok has a wealth of fucking information from rocket scientists and brain surgeons from around the world that are entertaining you when they're not dancing with their 8-year-old kids. I don't give a fuck about TikTok. I want to see a real goddamn movie, asshole. So anyway, let's get back to the review. The love story, if you haven't seen the movie, if you don't want to get, oh, now my light goes out. You might want to see the movie and then come back, because now we get into our story time telling part of the show where I give away all the goddamn spoilers. So here we go. The love triangle. I mean, this is the thing with this movie. First off, I do like Glenn Powell as an actor. I don't know how old this gentleman is, but he plays very mature. Like, I think that's what it is. He might be 45 is what I'm guessing. He does look like he looks like a movie star, because he is, but it kind of feels like this guy is coming on strong 20 years too late, because if he's 45 now and they're putting him in movies as the romantic interest to Sydney Sweeney, and she's 25, 26, I don't know. That's like a 20-year gap. And even if you say, oh, well, he can play 35, they acknowledge that in that romantic comedy they did together, Anyone But You, I think it was called. Like, this Sydney Sweeney character called him an old man or some such thing. But there's still a 20-year gap. Now, Sydney Sweeney is so, let's say, developed in her, appearance. You can kind of pass But even then, it felt a little awkward. And look, age gap relationships, it's like the hot new trend. You know what I mean? Like people are dating their grandmother's best friend and so forth. So who am I to judge? I'm just saying it doesn't always play right. In this particular movie, because the female actress, her first name was Daisy. I don't remember ever seeing her before. Once again, she's probably famous. I don't know who she is. I don't think they would give like a new actress this lead important role in this huge movie. So she must have done something before this, but she has a very young face. Like she looks 25 tops. And even then, like she could pass for a 19 or 20-year-old, in my opinion. Like she could easily play like a high school senior or something. She's got a super young face. Her character ages because the movie starts and then it goes to 5 years later. She looks super young, is what I'm saying. Not child young, but she looks early 20s, mid 20s at the most. She does not look like she's anywhere near 30, in my opinion. Our buddy here, Glenn Powell, his character's name is Tyler. He looks legit 40. You could even say 50, like a Tom Cruise 50, because these 50-year-old guys that look really good, they have the chiseled features, but this dude, they put him together. He's got like the brown hair. The actress Daisy has the blonde hair. If you played the game, I have the copyright on this game. It's a Lover or Spouse. This is my idea for a game show. Basically, I shouldn't share it with you assholes because one of you might steal it. But copyright. I do have this trademark. Lover or, what is it called? Parent or spouse or parent or lover. Basically, you put up these couples, people that have some type of age gap, and you have to, the audience, the contestants guess, is this a couple? A romantic couple, or they parent and child, right? So with this, if you were to play that game, I think if these weren't famous people, if you didn't know they were in a movie together, I think maybe 60% of people would guess parent, with him being the father, because they not to say they look alike, but it looks like she could be his kid. The other thing is she's a very petite young lady. Like the actress, you can just tell she's like 5'3", 5'4". Like she's not taller. She's just very, in my opinion, she looked very tiny, which is fine. But that also gives her the daughter effect to this big strapping guy. So there are scenes of near romance, which we don't really consummate anything, but it felt a little creepy crawly. Okay, and maybe the young girls are getting all excited about it. They like it. They like this older guy thing. But I'm telling you, it felt a little off. There's a scene where the Daisy, the fucking character, whatever her character name is, Kate introduces this guy to her mother, played by Maura Tierney, who's now become like the Southern mom, because she was the Southern mom in the fucking Von Erichs movie. She played Doris Von Erich in The Iron Claw last November that came out, a movie that I enjoyed thoroughly, and interviewed one of the actors, Kevin, who played Harley Race. I've interviewed him twice on One Man and a Camera Films YouTube channel, and I think you can find that on this channel, One Mike Messier. But basically, Maura Tierney in real life is probably more age appropriate, as they say, to Glenn Powell, because Maura's probably 50, maybe 55. And I'm telling you, I think I'm being generous when I say that Glenn, I would guess 42, because he probably is closer to 50. He just, looks really good for his age, right? So I'm just telling you, that's why I think the casting of this movie, I think they got Glenn Powell, and they're all excited about it because he's like the big new thing. And, they probably cast him in this movie whenever they did 2 or 3 years ago, and then they filmed it, and he was just starting this ascend, But I don't know. I just feel like the perfect character, and I was seeing this in my mind's eye, but this was like 25 years ago. Matthew McConaughey, like a young 1999 or even 1994 Matthew McConaughey with that Texas, with that Texas fucking voice, and like a mid-90s, late 90s McConaughey would have killed this, but sorry, it's not 1995. It's whatever the fuck, 2024. So you get what you can get. Why is Glen Powell not a great fit for this character, in my opinion? The character is supposed to be like a Jake Paul, actually Logan Paul. And I don't watch the Paul brothers a whole lot. I know that they're the big dick in the ass thing. But from the little that I've seen of Logan Paul, especially in his wrestling, WWE, that type of, obnoxious YouTube guy, that's what Glen Powell is supposed to be playing with the Tornado Wrangler. But then, of course, he has a heart of gold. Like, when we first meet this character, we're supposed to think, oh, my God, these are the bad guys, obnoxious assholes. But then him and his whole team have a heart of gold. So there's a lot of things in this movie that we've seen in other movies. We've seen the natural disasters. I mean, like I said, there was a movie called Twister. This one's Twisters. We've seen other, environment disaster movies and chasers, as they call them, the people that chase these things. But there's these other storylines, the dead friends. I'll get into that now. And the beginning of the movie is we see Kate, and she's, supposed to be a little bit younger, and she has this guy that seems to be her romantic interest at that time. And then they have 3 other friends who are tracking in Oklahoma some tornado. And we know it's Oklahoma because Kate basically looks up to the sky, to the big Oklahoma sky, and says, I sure do love Oklahoma. And then and I'm just sitting there like, oh, that's a nice exposition sentence. Like, okay, the screenwriter said, well, we need to establish that they're in Oklahoma. So I'll have the character say, I sure do love Oklahoma. I mean, they could have achieved the same type of thing if she had just looked at the sky, perhaps, and said, Oklahoma. Now there's people coming, so I have to be quiet for a moment. There's a whole bunch of people coming. I just don't like these scenarios. Hold on. I just have to be quiet for a minute. There's people coming. There's people coming, so I have to be quiet. I'll continue my review as soon as they leave. They were parking in the handicapped parking spot. I don't think there was anyone that was handicapped, though, because there was 4 fully capable adults that just walked into the vehicle. Not one of them were in a wheelchair or had crutches or braces. Perhaps it's some other type of handicap, which does not stop them from walking properly. But they all got into their vehicle now without any type of mechanical lift for a wheelchair or any other type of impediment. So I'm not sure if they are legitimate. But they are leaving. Very good. Okay, so let's get back to what I was saying because it was so profound. I just don't like talking when there's people near me, okay? So I don't think they were properly handicapped, but not my problem. Oh yes, the characters at the beginning, we need to establish this is Oklahoma. She looks up into the sky and says, I sure do love Oklahoma. Thanks, Kate. Good dialogue writing. Then we have the kind of the people in the back seat. And one guy is getting all nervous about the tornado, and the nerdy girl says to him, ever since you got struck by lightning, you've been really nervous. I'm sorry, she said, ever since you've been struck by lightning, you haven't been the same. Okay. More exposition crammed into the dialogue. Just like, okay. And I'm basically thinking at this part of the movie, the first 5 or 6 minutes, like, okay, are these characters going to be around for the whole movie? Because I hope not, because there's no Glen Powell yet, and I don't like these characters, and I hope they die. And for me, luckily enough, the characters did die. At least 3 out of 5 of them. And the opening scene is actually really quite good. It's like basically Kate, who's like this little, scientist type. She has this invention or this technique she thinks that's going to tame the tornadoes. Like she's going to be a tornado tamer, and she's going to like put chemicals up into the sky to actually lessen the damage caused by these things, which is pretty profound. I don't know if that's an actual thing or if that's just fictional for the movie's sakes. But in any regard, long story short, she and her 3 friends, one of which is a romantic interest, They try to do this thing, and the romantic interest and the two nerds all die. And all that's left is Ari, or Raji, whatever his fucking name is, the friend guy, and her. So they're and she's got a big nasty scar on her leg. So 3 of their best friends die, and it's because they were pushing the boundaries and trying to get her invention to work. And I guess we're supposed to learn quickly throughout this movie the difference between a level 1 and a level 5. I guess level 1 is, it's damage. Level 1 is the least amount of damage. Level 5 is the most amount of damage. And what's interesting, which our buddy there, Glenn Powell, gives us an exposition pretty much towards the end of the movie, 3/4 in, we learn that you can only rate a tornado after it's happened, because it's the level of damage inflicted, like the amount of people that have been killed, or homes that have been destroyed, or bridges or roads. So the whole tornado thing is really a crapshoot. Like these prognosticators or these chasers or whatever the fuckers, they are just guessing, because they don't really know. So Kate thought, or her team thought, we're in for a level 1, which we could handle, but it turned out to be a level 5, which they can't. So I thought that was interesting. I like that little nugget of information. So we move forth, and then 5 years later, Kate's in a business suit. This scene, I thought, was a little on the nose, meaning the actress and how she was directed was, she's basically, it looked like it's supposed to be 5 years later, but it felt like it was 2 weeks later. Suddenly, she's in New York City. She's wearing a business outfit. She works for the National Weather Service. And the idea is she's so traumatized by this accident that killed her boyfriend, and I guess she was really hung up on him, and her 2 nerd friends, that 5 years later, she's a working girl in New York City. She's left Oklahoma, but she is not over it. And it just reads very obviously on her face, which is the point. I mean, we're not going to stick around this scene for too long, so I get it. I thought maybe if it had just said 2 years later instead of 5, I might have, I think that would have worked. Because it seems like, I think in 5 years, let's face facts, an attractive woman is going to move on. You know what I mean? Like, her whole family could be dead, and 5 years later, she's got a new family. That's just how people, i.e. women, operate. She's not going to be an empty bedder for long, because she has this, like, nightmare scene where she's dreaming of the dead guy boyfriend. It's like, no. I knew one woman in my life that was like that. She had, like, the dead boyfriend syndrome, and she was hung up on it for several years. But I think the majority are not going to care for 5 years, to be quite honest with you. The women, just no offense, but they're kind of biologically programmed, to war brides. They're going to move on to someone else that's around. They're not going to lament the dead boyfriend for 5 years. No offense to anyone that is, or whoever the fuck, or any dead boyfriends out there. But the reality is, I didn't buy it. I didn't buy that Kate is like this barren widow who's just sitting there, and she's not going out and getting a cocktail, at least in Manhattan. Like, she's a pretty blonde woman in New York City who still looks 25 years old, but she's not going out to the nightclubs to meet the waiter or whatever the fuck the people do. She's not going to the discotheque or whatever she would do to, you know what I mean? So I just didn't buy it, that she's just, the lonely girl in New York City with nothing to do on a Friday night. So our old buddy there, Ravi, the surviving member of the team, of course, he wasn't in the eye of the storm, so to speak. He shows up at her place of work. He's wearing a suit. She's wearing her suit. They're all grown up. And he's basically pitching her to rejoin the team. Now, this you might have seen in stuff like that Mark Wahlberg movie with the dog, where he's trying to put together the running team, like the fucking Trek team or the survival team, and that, whatever that movie was. You've seen movies where there's some team, some sport or some activity or some career. The gang breaks up because of some tragedy. There's grudges, and then one of the members has like a big assignment, and they're like, I gotta get the team back together. So this is what we're having. I gotta get the gang back together. So Raji is taking it upon himself to go after her, and he's, more exposition. I tried calling you. You didn't call me back. And she's like, oh, I'm not good for phone calls. Basically, she's the weeping widow. And pretty obviously, this guy's had a hard-on for this chick the whole time. He was into her back when he was in the friend zone 5 years earlier and his buddy was banging her. And he always secretly pined for her. And he kind of, when his male buddy died, that was her boyfriend, he probably wanted to slip in. And she didn't let him. And so he's always had that regret. So but it's all under the, auspices of business, that he wants her to come do this mission and save the people of Oklahoma. And the other thing that they promoted in the preview of this thing was that, the Twisters official soundtrack is going to drop Friday. So, I guess I'll listen to it. I'm not going to buy it, but I guess on YouTube Music or some other device, I'll listen to it. Some good songs, kind of like a mix of country and rock and yada, yada, yada. So, we move forth. She goes to Oklahoma. Now she's, back in the old farmstead. And they drive by this underpass where she saw her boyfriend die. He was protecting her. He got swept up. Another thing I liked about the movie is when people died, it was it's really dramatic. Like, you see the people get scooped into the fucking tornado. And it's like, holy shit, it's pretty cool, in a way of death. It's sad. If you experience this, it would be traumatic, but to see someone just kind of and oh no, they got caught. I guess you kind of wonder, what happens to these people? It's not fucking Dorothy into the Wizard of Oz. They probably get scooped up, tossed into the air, spun around. Any shrapnel or any, things that are flying around in the air are going to hit them. And that's probably what's going to get you. It's not just being in the air, but being tossed around and jerked around. Your neck is probably going to break, concussion. But I would think if you got hit by something, that's probably the most death in these tornadoes. I'm laughing, but I've never been through a tornado, folks. So, I am not trying to mock it. I'm just saying, I haven't been through that, but I'm sure it's traumatic. But I'm thinking the way that people die probably is getting hit in the head. You know what I mean? Or their just body gets tossed around. And even if you survive, you might be confined to a wheelchair. You might be paralyzed. Who knows? But we don't really get too graphic for those that are worried about the death. They don't really show a lot of people. They show people presumably being killed, but this is not a horror movie where you see the blood and guts or anything. I don't think there's mild little bloods here and there, but nothing too gruesome in this film, right? I think it's a PG-13 rating. So, anyway, so now she and Raji are back in business, and he's got this whole professional thing now. He's no longer a kid. It's 5 years later. He's got his whole team, and they're going to do their thing. But then we find out that the marks, the idiots, the civilians, anybody with a $10 app, as one of the characters says, can track a tornado now, because all these common folks come out of the woodworks, and they're going to track tornadoes. And then the belle of their ball comes out, and that's the Tyler character. Finally, 10 minutes into this movie, maybe 15, we get who I thought was the centerpiece, Glenn Powell, but now I'm learning it's not Glenn Powell, it's Kate. So Glenn Powell is playing, like I said, the Logan Paul-esque guy, and that's why he does his little finger routine, because it's the tornado chasers, and they're like YouTubers. So now we're supposed to be, this is what got me. I felt like Glenn Powell, he just looks so mature and confident and strapping. He does not look like a fucking YouTube asshole. You know what I mean? He looks like this is a businessman. So there's a few moments where they put Glenn Powell in the selfie mode. It doesn't feel genuine to me, because he's too brash looking or too Donald Trump Jr. looking to be a fucking YouTuber. It just did not apply. It did not work for me. That's what I'm saying, which is, like I said, he's a great actor. I just didn't buy it that a guy that looked like that would be doing this horseshit YouTube thing. It just didn't work. It really didn't. And like I said, that goes back to, as soon as you see Kate, look him over, you're like, okay, these two characters are going to fuck. You know what I mean? And then it's like, okay. But then you never do. And that's because they're dealing with the fucking twisters, the tornadoes, and all the horse shit, and all the science. And there's so many things in this movie. You wouldn't think that a disaster movie, yes, these disaster movies always have these human elements, you know what I mean? Because they want you to feel something for these characters. They're not just bodies to get smashed around. But at the same time, it felt like we had, like Raji is going into business with some Texas billionaire guy who's buying the land from people that just lost their homes, and the ethical, like, that's a whole fucking rabbit hole. And I did think that Ari or Raji, whatever the fuck, having like this 5-year crush on this chick, and he's just he's put on this own chastity belt for this girl for 5 years, we would be led to believe. But he gets friend zoned pretty hard. And I did like those moments where, like, you could tell that Ari or Raji, whatever his name is, he's getting all pissy because, like, he's the one that fucking flew her out here. Like, she's here on his dime. And of course, she's trotting off with the cowboy man, with Tyler. So, I mean, that, like, oh, you're the guy that's, like, paying me to be here. You're the guy that's, like, bringing me out and sought after me for 5 years. But I'm going to go with this Texas stud of meat. Like, she's going to run off with the new stack of dick because, Raji doesn't do it for her. So he's the friend. He's the fucking friend loser. And she needs to be with the hot, Matthew McConaughey-esque old Glenn Powell. So sorry, Raji. Sorry, normal guys. You're friend zoned, and the hot chick goes with the stud. That's the fucking moral lesson. Okay. So, but of course, he still simps after her. And by the end of the movie, Raji there is patting old Glenn Powell, Tyler on the back. Like, go get her, man. That's my boy. Like, he's like cheering this competition guy to go fuck the chick because he's accepted and now he's happy to be the fucking loser friend zone fuck. That's how I saw this thing. Now, most people want to see it like this. They would just say, oh, cool. And we never even see, from what I saw, I don't remember seeing a kiss, like we never see, and which is probably for the best because, like I said, they looked like father and daughter throughout this thing, at least to me. So to actually see them commence a kiss would be kind of awkward, I would think, but maybe not. But I mean, really, what you would want if Glenn Powell was like 5 years younger and the actress, actually, Glenn Powell was like 3 years younger and Daisy, the actress, was like 5 years older, it would have worked, I guess. It really felt too like they were related. They just looked like they were related more than romantic. But hey, it's the South, who knows? Hoo-hoo. So anyway, and poor Raji sitting there with his dick in his hands, playing the fucking simp. Sorry, pal. That's your role in this whole orchestra of romance. I did like some of the supporting characters. There was this one girl, female woman on Tyler's team, and she, spoiler, she almost fucking dies at the end. I thought it was kind of cool that, like, at the end of the movie, they're trying to save these people. Like, that's what we learn about Tyler's team. Yes, they're YouTube fucks, but they have hearts of gold, and they always give food to the fucking people, and they always help them. And there's like, they put all these fucking Southern people in the fucking movie theater, and, some in the movie theater is getting smashed by the fucking tornado, and Kate goes out to save the day because she's the central character and hashtag girl power, and she's redeeming herself. That's the other thing, by the way. We've seen that in other movies, even Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. Like, okay, Kate accepts the blame for the death of her 3 friends, including a boyfriend, a man that would have been her love interest. She's taking the responsibility of all their deaths, and she redeems herself at the end of the movie by doing what she wanted to do 5 years earlier, which is tame the fucking tornado, right? So, okay, good. Meanwhile, we see a couple of people get sucked into the fucking tornado from the movie theater, so some of these innocent bystanders get killed. I think it could have been nice, dramatically, if we did kill one of the characters. Like, there's a character, Ben, who's like this Englishman reporter. We could have killed him. You know what I mean? Like, there's like all these, there's like 5 or 6 supporting characters between what's his dick's team, Ari's team. He's got like the guy that is a jerk, the brown haired guy. He never likes Daisy. He never likes what's her name, Kate. He could have died. I don't think he dies, does he? They could have killed one of these supporting characters. They really should have. For just some balance. Like, look, if you have 10 or 12 people and you're going into the eye of the storm, literally, and other people are dying too, you would think that one of your 10 or 12 main players would fucking die. And and even if like they got sucked into the hurricane and we see them like come out of it, but they get like a broken arm or whatever the fuck, and they're like, I'm still alive. Like just something like that. But we don't. So it's kind of soft in that regard. There's no, what's the word? There's no collateral damage. It's almost like, you know, when the good guy gets shot in the arm, they never get shot in the fucking head. The good guy always gets shot in the arm. Well, we don't even really get that, except we have Kate in her scarred up leg. You know what I mean? But we don't have like a nice death of a supporting character. We should have. I mean, they might be leaving this thing open for sequels. Who knows? But the whole, like, you know, Shakespearean love triangle angle of this movie, thanks. It's my God. So the Shakespearean love triangle, it's kind of like, why did you put us through that whole who's she going to fuck or who's she going to fall in love with or who's she going to be with, who's she going to choose? We didn't even get that with a commencement kiss. We're kind of led to believe, it's Cowboy Bob over here, that Raji kind of takes himself out because now he's just her business friend. I think if anything would have been realistic, if Raji just would have pieced out and just let her do her thing. That's why I feel like there was like too much movie here. Like one of these storylines, like he called her City Girl. The fucking Tyler character called her City Girl because she was from New York. Wow, that's original. But if their thing, like their will they, won't they romance was just a thing, or if the I thought you were just a friend romance, like if that was just a thing. But to have all of that crammed into one disaster movie, I thought it was a bit much. I thought that was a bit overdose. You know what I mean? So, but that's life, I guess. But then to not have the payoff, like to just leave it hanging, like I said, with no kiss. What the fuck are we doing here, folks? Like, if you're not going to have the kiss to end it off, then why do we spend so much time with this tension, this sexual boil, if there's no baked potato of love, okay? Anyway, for what this movie is, it's a lot of fun. I don't think it's a classic. I think this is a movie, like I said, it's a summertime movie. This is midsummer, so to speak, or midsummer. And if you see this movie, go see it in IMAX. Go see it in whatever the fuck. Go see it Dolby Digital. See a nice big screen. But don't wait a couple of weeks to see it on a small screen. And don't wait to see it at home. Okay, here's the other thing. This movie ticket, I got to go to this because I had the AMC membership, which is like $26 a month or $27 with tax. Basically, you get 3 movies a week. They turn over, so if you don't use them, you lose them. But basically, if you do the math, fine, folks, if you see 2 movies or more a month, you have gotten your value. This movie alone, for just this movie on IMAX in this preview, for one ticket, for one person, adult, $18.79. So some people I knew were thinking of going to this. They did not show up. They were asking me how much the tickets were. Of course, they could have just looked on the fucking app and figured it out for themselves. But I, being a nice guy, did all the fucking math, found the price, $18.79, and then also said, if you just get the monthly app, like I've been telling you for a year, then you would pay $25. You can see 2 movies this month, and you'll more than make. They just didn't show up. Because that's the problem with people, like, they don't want to put the little extra effort in. It takes too long it's 5 minutes to fucking get the app and pay for it. And then you enjoy yourselves at the theater and you do something with your time in your life. You have a little thing to do. And you don't pay every time you go to the movies because you've already paid, unless you want to buy concessions. And of course, assholes always have a thing. Oh, I hate the movies because of the concessions. Well, shit for brains. There's these things called pockets and you can sneak shit in. I broke the fucking matrix on that one. No one's done that before. Or, get this, you can go 2 hours and 30 minutes without a fucking candy bar in your ass, idiots. So anyway, I'm just a proponent of getting the fucking app, because then you don't get your panties in an uproar every time you buy a movie ticket about the cost, because it's just part of the fucking fun. So anyway, you can weigh the consequences, $18.79, or the fucking whatever the fucking monthly subscription. I say this is a good movie. It's not a great movie. See it on the big screen. Good summertime fun. I've pointed out the boils on the armpits of this movie, which is basically the age gap things and the other stuff. MikeMessier.com, One Man in a Camera Films. for my wonderful films. My artwork is on one artist, Mike Messier, and here's my goddamn artwork for today. It's a really good one. I thought it was good. And of course, it's upside fucking down. All right, folks.